I call this meeting to order
Mike, please.
for the Holiday Island Road Improvement District Board of Commissioners work session for Monday, March 17th. It is 9 a.m. I'd like to stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A motion to discuss the labor bids for the sprinkler install.
That motion.
Seconded. That moved and seconded. The discussion for the labor bids for the sprinkler install is now open. Mr. I know you had some comments about.
Well, I look at these sprinklers. We bought the sprinklers, $56,000, I think, went for the sprinklers.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
30.
that. Now,
Can we put our mics closer, please?
oh, okay, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Thank you.
Thank you. So I look at this bid, and because our greenskeeper said he didn't have time to get this done, and the bid for just putting the sprinklers in is $31,000. I think we hire a couple of kids from that school to have work part-time in the summer, and we have Tyler do this. We're already paying him. We don't need to be paying $31,000 for this. That's my opinion.
How long would it take with our staff before we could get it done at their current?
Basically with their daily routine and stuff they have to do, and then having time to put sprinklers in and take them all summer.
They did number two on that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And that didn't take them very long at all.
No.
A couple of a day, I think.
There's
2 days.
116 sprinkler heads. So the 21,000 was Bill England, who was going to come in and use one or two of the guys and give it 3 to 4 weeks. And then the 34,000 was a company coming in and doing it all on their own, digging them up, replacing them, and they were going to be done in 2 to 3 weeks.
What would it cost us if we hired 2 kids from that school? I think we pay them, what, $14, $15 an hour?
$14 an hour.
$14.99 an hour. We pay them kids to go work, have Tyler put them to work, and have Tyler go out there and do it. I mean, just like this morning, I drive by on hole number 9. One guy's out there with a cart, instead of mowing the greens, he was picking up little twigs off the green. And I mean, when I went out to the garage to get my pickup, he was doing that. And when I came back by on the highway, he was still out there picking up sticks on number 9. Now that makes good sense. You gotta go back and mow. It makes good sense. There's not any branches on there to go ahead and mow the greens rather than drive a cart all the way around 9 holes and pick up sticks. You know, we just waste so much time. It's just unbelievable. Now we have a greenskeeper that says he didn't have time to do this. I think that's baloney. I think that's what we're paying for.
And
We were going to do this.
Yeah, the only thing is the time is the essence, because we want to get them in and watering before we lose our fairways.
Well, we've already lost a couple. We need to be overseeing right now.
Yeah.
Rich, do they need special equipment? Are they using a maxi sneak or any trencher to put these in?
Nope, they're digging them all up by hand. And then, I mean, it's just the heads. So you just find them, dig them all up by hand, then re-put the new sprinkler head and switch them in. Yep.
That's it.
And then there's been a couple of them now, well, and 2 had wiring problems too, that they had to trace back and find the problem with the wiring too. So
They'll find some more.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the.
But at least we'll have them fixed and we can water the fairways and have some grass.
Yeah.
That's the biggest complaint I hear from anybody that comes here to play golf or residents that play golf is our fairways. They don't have any grass. It's hard to hit off.
Yeah.
You have to hit every ball crisp as a dime to get a good shot off this fairway. And most people can't do that. I can't even do it. And I have a 4 handicap.
So time is of the essence, and we're already starting to lose this, there's a cost that we're losing by the longer we're taking. So is some of these costs basically preventative costs, so we don't continue to lose?
Well, I agree, I mean, if we think, if we have, probably gonna take twice as long as if they have two guys doing it. And the people that do that all the time, basically probably can do it faster and more efficient than we can have, but Tyler should never, ever say something like that, though. I just disagree with that kind of.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, he's got two done, and I think they started working. They're getting a jump on him because they know that by the time we get this or decide anything, he's got to get going on him. So it's not like he's getting as many done as he can. He digs them up in the morning, replaces them, fills them, goes back and refills them.
So he just needs some more help.
Yeah.
So my comment is, first off, we have two leaders at the golf course. We're spending about $130,000 a year combined salaries. I can't believe that one of them, David Treat, why he can't be in charge of installing these new sprinkler heads and let Tyler continue on and do his day-to-day operations.
Because you still got Dave trying to run the 9-hole with Jason. So he's got to do the 9. He's actually in charge of the 9-hole with Jason. So you got two guys doing the 9-hole. And then when he gets done with the stuff at the 9-hole, then he goes up and helps with the 18-hole.
Well, that's my point. When the little time they spend at the 9-hole, the balance of the day they can spend putting in sprinkler heads at the 18-hole.
And then he's up there helping them.
Because David Treat's more than qualified to do this.
Yep. The only one that's not going up there is Jason, who's staying at the 9-hole and taking care of stuff down on that. But.
So is there a way with with him doing it all by himself to negotiate if we were to offer help? Like the other one's asking for help and it's more, but if we offer some help to him, so he's not doing it alone, would that be able to cut the cost?
Yes, and the more helpers we can give Bill, it's going to be, and that was, if we could give him more help, then it'd be done quicker and at a cheaper rate.
Okay, and that's definitely something we can do, right?
With Bill, yes.
Okay. I feel like that's the
I'm on this golf course almost every day. And I can tell you when those guys are working on a head, there's two guys working on a head if you got a leak. One guy is doing the work, one guy's standing there watching. Pretty quick. Another guy, that guy takes a shovel, and the other guy stands there and watches like they need a rest. When they're digging 2 foot deep for a sprinkler, and they're digging about slightly bigger, not more than, say, a bushel basket. That's about as big as it gets around there. But I've never seen a greenskeeper that couldn't dig a sprinkler head up 2.5 feet deep by himself. It always takes two guys. There's always two guys. I don't know, to me, that's a waste of people and a waste of time.
I get what you're saying, and that's maybe something that can be addressed
I
as
agree
well.
that we probably
However, we
need to
still
do
need
it
to do something in the meantime, and I feel like if we were to be able to give Bill help, we can reduce the costs and possibly even the time frame without.
Well, I agree, but I'm saying that's the thing we need to maybe.
And that's something we can address at a
And I'm
later
sure
time.
our district manager is working on that project too.
I'm sure he is, and that's something we can address at a different time, but in terms of what we're talking about now,
Right, I
we need
agree.
to figure out what we need to do with the contract.
Then we probably ought to get this done immediately, if not sooner. If we got the heads in, it could have been done this winter. We should have been maybe, but things just didn't work out, I guess. I don't know if they didn't get them ordered, or what happened.
As soon as we passed the bid for it, he ordered them that same day. And
Okay,
we got
well,
them in.
that took them that long to get them in, so
Yeah.
now we need to, but now's the time we need to be overseeing the fairway. Because there's a lot of fairways right now, we don't have any grass on, it's just bare ground.
Yep.
It had died from the lack of water last year. And if we don't oversee them, we're not gonna have anything, and there's places that the dirt's all washed off now because there was no grass. And like on hole number 2, there's a big rock, we seeded some grass and some of them bust, but heck, they left some up and they washed away, and now we have nothing but rocks in the middle of the fairway.
Yep. And Mother Nature is not helping us out this spring yet either. Mother Nature,
Yeah. Well,
she
yeah.
really hurt us last fall, and she's not
Well, I
helping us
agree,
this
we're not
spring
getting
either.
the rain either like we should, but that's why we need to get these sprinklers on quickly, and we need to get some grass started and growing.
Rich, it's your understanding that
Bill England Excavation. He's given us a bid for 21 grand, 3 to 4 weeks.
Mhm.
And if we
If we
apply
give
it with a couple of guys, he can do it faster and cheaper.
Well, there you go.
I mean, this is just, this is why we bring this stuff up for the work session, so.
Well, that's why we're talking about it. If there's a way that we can supply a couple of guys
Yep.
that just dig the holes, and this guy really, all he's doing is taking off hose clamps and putting on new hose clamps.
Well, it's threaded, but then the worst problem is some of it's galvanized, so you gotta kind of, I mean,
They're gluing some of these, huh?
yep.
It's all
Some of
plastic.
a lot of it's plastic. They're still galvanized that we're dealing with, so we have to have different fittings and reducers for the galvanized to plastic. I mean, every one, it's not all exactly the same. Because you're dealing with the old system and then stuff they've added on to for new
So how would we know how much we're gonna save by supplying them to 2 people?
I can talk
Is he gonna give us an hourly rate, or?
I
I mean,
can,
right now, we're looking at 21 grand for 3 to 4 weeks.
yeah. And these were just rough bits, that way we could get them on the table and that way we knew what we were looking at.
Okay, I agree.
We can, if I give him 2 guys and when he can get on it, the worst problem is you never know exactly from sprinkler head to sprinkler head what you're gonna run into. As soon as you dig one up, you got plastic, and the next one you dig up, you got galvanized, and you got roll plastic. I mean, the system has just been added to and moved around and everything over the years that you're just kind of in the blind.
It's been jury-rigged a lot.
So the material is coming out of this bid too, so if there's changes in material, if he's gotta redo that, that's part of that 21,000.
All the materials for hooking up stuff we have got because Tyler's
He's
just
supplying labor.
he's just supplying labor and putting them in.
Okay, I think in the interest of moving forward, we need to figure out exactly
Get
how
some
much
exact numbers.
Bill is gonna save us by supplying it with a couple of guys, and by the time we have the next meeting, we should be able to vote on
Yep.
whether we can approve it or not.
I agree. I think that's, have it by next Monday's meeting.
Yeah,
He should be able to figure it out by next Monday, and, I'm okay with having this done by this guy. Let's just get it done and get it done at the right price.
And that's, the price is gonna be the main
The other
thing.
deal later.
And then the time. I mean, we just gotta get them in so we can get the sprinkler and get them going so we don't lose anything more.
And it's hard to dig in these rocks too, so, these young kids can dig a lot faster than say, wait.
But keep in mind, where you're digging has already been done before.
That's right, so there shouldn't be many rocks.
Exactly, my point is, that's already been dug out once.
Yeah.
It's just fill.
Well, it shouldn't be, unless they put the rocks back in the hole.
Oh, they did that.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's move on to,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, could you, do the announcement of the,
oh, excuse me. I will.
The roll call.
thank you.
We don't have to have roll call.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
At 5:05 on Friday, I received a email message from Bryce Howard. Read it in its entirety. Dear Chairman, Board of Commissioners, and Mr. Figgins, I'm right. Of the Islands Urban Improvement District, effective immediately, March 14th, 2025. Due to unforeseen family and medical circumstances, I must resign from my role at this time. I want to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community through this position. This will allow the board and leadership to move forward effectively. It's been an honor to collaborate with the board and staff and community members in working toward a stronger, more sustainable future for Holiday Island. I appreciate all the hard work and dedication of those who serve and look forward to seeing the district continue to grow and thrive. Thank you for your understanding and support. Please let me know if I can assist you in any way. Sincerely, Bryce Holland. So I assume at the next regular meeting, which is a week from today, we'll update and announce the procedures for filling the vacant seat on the BOC. Now we'll discuss the updates from the March 13th, 2025 meeting with the Roads Joint Task Force meeting. And I'll turn it over to David.
Thank you. And looks like in the audience, we have a couple of our task force members. We got Mayor Keys and Councilman Mills back there. So that's 3 of our 4 working. The only person missing today would be Mike from our road superintendent. He's out doing great things. So the task force has met twice today. Our cadence going forward is that we'll meet on the Thursdays, the second and fourth Thursdays of each month at 1 p.m. We've now running pretty hard. There's still some questions that we're still trying to pursue, but our original goal from the first meeting was to basically try and determine whether the city can provide monetary assistance to HICID for road maintenance, or whether we need to dedicate all the roads to the city and have them in order to be able to use their funds. We think, based on some preliminary legal opinions that we got from the Arkansas Municipal League, that the current thing is that HICID can keep the roads, and that as long as roads are dedicated for public use, that the city should be able to provide financial assistance to HICID for road maintenance. The key being that we're finding out, again, so there's 2 things. We have a municipal league opinion that we're, one of our next steps is to meet. We sent that off to our HICID attorney, where they're going to try and, I think our next steps are basically for our HICID attorney and the city council attorney to meet to review the municipal league's legal opinion, where it seemed like our current goal of not having to give the roads to the city doesn't have to happen, and that as long as the plats or the legal road or legal description on the roads, specifically the plats, state that the roads are dedicated for public use. So in looking at Mayor Keys pulled some historical data on some of our early units in Holiday Island. Specifically, I'll use like Unit 6 and 7, for instance. And the plats clearly state that, when they were needed, that the roads were dedicated to HICID, and HICID has dedicated them for public use. So there's 2 goals that our task force has. A short-term goal, because we need to try and see what we can execute for maintenance roads and have the city help us with this year. And we're already coming in April, so a lot of contractors, their schedules are already filled. We have a contractor that Mike's been working with, and based on our last week's meeting, our current plan is to recommend a total of 3 roads to be chipped and sealed this year. Haddock Lane and I don't know if the other members have seen it, but Hawk Lane is where we landed. They're in Unit 6 and 7. And so those are clearly public use based on the deeds. So our goal would be to ask HICID and the city council to approve at some point coming up quickly the city contributing to fund those roads. The last road, which has been on Mike's schedule to do, is Rocky Top, which is on the island. The island plats are not, we're not saying they're not dedicated for public use, we just haven't seen enough of the plats from the county to be able, we probably have to pull that. That's kind of an action item that may have to be done, is to kind of pull the plats and see what the legal descriptions say on them. So for the Rocky Top, that would be the 3rd road that we would do this year. And that one would actually be HICID only. So there's 2 bids that they're being redone from this contractor. The 2 would be on 1 bid. We would then share to ask, the BOC and city council to approve health funding, and then Rocky Top will just stay in-house. Of course, there's the long-term goal that we're still working toward. Do we keep the roads in HICID until at some point in the future, where HICID goes away and then everything goes to the city? That's a long-term plan that the task force is still trying to make recommendations on. And again, a lot of this is dependent, even the short-term goal is dependent on how this meeting goes with the HICID attorney and the city council attorney interpreting the municipal league's opinion. Because so this crucial meeting, which we're still trying to get set up, is going to dictate whether we can even execute the short-term goal.
When is this meeting scheduled to take place?
We haven't even scheduled it yet. I sent off all the municipal league stuff to Matt last week, and I'm still waiting. He's working on it and trying to figure out what we can do with it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Matt's been in contact with the city council as well.
Yes,
So
Justin, and then I think he even had a conversation with Tim Hutchison too.
David, it is under consideration that you're looking at turning all the roads over to the city. That's an alternative.
that's an alternative.
Long term, it's gotta happen. So why are we messing around if do we wanna do it right away, or do we wanna do it later on?
So the later on is where I'm personally trying to lead, and it's kind of where I think the consensus is going, because while the SID is still in action, they're still taking place, until there's a resolution on what happens with the SID long term, I don't think we should be, for instance, how would we handle the superintendent? Is he gonna report to the city? It just makes it cleaner and operate as normal until the SID is resolved, and then because the city will already been in a long-term, we're looking at an interlocal agreement, for instance.
Well, if we don't have roads, we wouldn't need the superintendent.
But then you're an AO, so there's, a lot of this is centered around the AOBs. So we can't dual basically tax, if you will. So whatever we dedicate to the city, the AOBs would be reduced. And so that's.
It should be.
It should be, but they don't have the city doesn't have a revenue stream in it yet. So long term, we have to decide, we have to make a recommendation. We're still looking at all these things, and so the AOB is definitely a part of this discussion, but where we do not want to double tax.
Well, we can't double tax. I mean, we owe it to the taxpayer not to.
But in the current, if we go as where the current, looks like currently where we're trying to go, then everything is clean, and we're starting to get the city working with us. Like the short-term goal, if we can get the short-term goal done and get the roads, these 3 roads done, the next step the council or the task force is to now partner and say, let's look forward to next year so that we're not behind the 8 ball. And how much can the city bring to bear from turnback funds so that Mike and his team can forecast how much more roads we can do next year.
Okay, so then my next question is, if you don't have, the city don't have roads, are they subject to not getting as much money from the feds and the state if they don't own the roads?
That's what we're seeing is they're not. And so far, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor Dees, but they're not.
The turnback money is determined by the ratio of population of Holiday Island to all the other cities in the state. So we will continue to get that money regardless. However, if we don't spend it, we're going to get in trouble with the state auditors eventually. So,
so would it be, in your opinion, are we eligible for grants if we don't own the roads? Because we won't get any grants.
the city has to have, well, like David said, we're still on step 1.
Yeah.
From day 1, we've been wrestling with.
Let's get step 1 over and then we'll see what we need to do at that point. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and we have to resolve the initial issue of ownership versus, there's basically 3 terms involved. You want me to use the mic?
Yeah.
That's probably a bad idea.
There's basically 3 terms that we're wrestling with.
when it comes to the roads. Ownership, dedication of right-of-way, or dedicated for public use. We don't know if those three terms mean the same thing, if they mean different things, and depending on what plot plans you're looking at, they're all, they've used all three. I mean, there's one set of plots that says that they're licensed, that they're licensing the public to use otherwise private roads. Very, very clear that the developer at the time intended to retain ownership of the roads, but let the public use them. There's other plot plans where it doesn't say anything at all about dedication. And then there are some plot plans, like the ones that Tom Dees did, where it said, where he dedicated the roads and the easements to the public. It just says the public. However, there's also a statement on the plot plan where the Suburban Improvement District accepted the dedication. So were they accepting it for themselves? Were they accepting the dedications on the public's behalf? It's just until we get that clear. What I'm hoping is that the attorneys can get together and say, regardless of the terminology that was used when these plots were filed, it's obvious by practice, by what's been done for the last 50 years, that for the district to retain ownership and allow public use of the otherwise private roads. If we can establish that, and that may take an Attorney General's opinion, if we can establish that, then we have a lot of flexibility with what to do. Now, the district could, in one fell swoop, dedicate all of the public use, dedicate all the roads to public use, whereas at that point the city would be authorized to spend tax money on maintenance. But since the district is still retaining ownership, there's a window of opportunity for them to also provide some funding. Because that's what, we can't just transition something without having the source of funding all lined up. So that's always been step one, and we're getting closer to understanding that. But since our limited amount of investigation into how the plots were filed has already revealed 4 different ways of doing it, we still have probably, I don't know, what do you think, about 70? Yeah. About 70 units that we're going to have to go to the county and pull the plats and see what it says. And we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to assume that they're all like this. Yeah. And they're spread out all over. We got Tom Dees has plotted one on the island that used his terminology, and he plotted all the stuff up in the bluffs using his terminology. But then there's other stuff on the island that was plotted by McCulloch way back when, and they used a different terminology. So, but we should be able to get an answer to that, fairly quickly here in the next couple on the plot plan. So I think we can move forward. But whatever dedication we do, we want to be careful. We want to say that we are dedicating the roads for public use. We want to be very clear and specific. That's another legal advice we need from our attorneys, is how to be very specific with our dedication so that we don't inadvertently transfer ownership instead of just the dedication for public use.
Thank you. Any other questions for?
Not me, he answered my question.
That's all I have, I think. And we're-
Well, David, is there a motion you can make for the next meeting that would do this?
It's,
Or is it?
I think it's, I hate to say it, I'd like to get this, even if we have to do a special meeting at the end of this month, we need to get these contractors going. But until I can make a motion for the table, so we can, actually, that's already gonna be taken care of, that's already on the budget, so we don't have to worry. So the other two roads for Haddock and Hawk, until we get that legal opinion from our councils that support what we interpret in the municipal league, I'm hesitant to do that. But that's not to say that we may have to call a special meeting before the end of the month, just to vote on something, jointly, to get it, so he can release the contractors by the end of the month.
Yeah, because when we bring them in here, we want to do all three roads, so, I mean, we can pass the, Rocky Top Lane through us, because that's gonna be our only project. But as far as the other two, we wanna make sure that we get the other two involved before we bring this company in. You know, we don't wanna bring them in just to do 1,500 square feet of roads, or linear feet.
Right. So, I'll keep Rich involved, and then if we have to call something, but at least you guys, if you have any questions, let me know. And I know that the mayor, they're gonna talk about it at city council as well, so everybody has a heads up, that this is the plan, the short-term plan, pending on a legal opinion, so, thank you.
Very well, we should discuss the purchase of the first boom, which everybody got paperwork on.
Let's start off with, I was working on the tractor thing and the person boom, and I had talked to the people with the person boom, and the street superintendent gave me this guy's number, and I called and talked with him. And we talked about the tractor that our street, he says that the county does it with this, but it's a much smaller tractor, and the Versa boom is the smallest one they make. And this guy at the place that I called, that mounts them and gets the Versa boom from, I think that's Louisiana, I think is where they come from. I'm not sure of that, but he told me that tractor, that Versa boom, that tractor's a small tractor. He said in his opinion, it's too small. And then he said you'd be much happier and tear it up less if you had the bigger Versa boom. But he did tell me then at the end of the conversation, and I asked him specifically, I said we were talking $46,000 to $50,000. He said, oh no, we said by the time we get this thing cranked up, it's $78,000, and we have to build a frame. And he said that's for the largest one. The price that he said we were given earlier for that 47 was the very smallest one. The very smallest one they made. And he said, I would recommend you go with the bigger one. You go with that bigger tractor. He said, I think you'll be a whole lot happier. I found a tractor, and I turned it on. I'm gonna turn this over to Rich, because he talked to the guy. I found the tractor, and I'm gonna turn it over to you, Rich.
Yeah, the tractor part of this was an outstanding deal for the amount of hours and everything on it. And plus they were cutting us heck of a deal. It was $2,000 to ship it, and they're only gonna charge us $500. So that's where the $500 on that tractor deal comes from. The Versa boom, which with this tractor, we can go with the bigger Versa boom, the rear mount Versa boom. And that's where the price tag goes up, because they have to make certain brackets to get the mount to that tractor. And then the other thing that was not on here was the front tires are the pasture low impact flotation tires on the front. And they said we'd be better off because of the roll of the hills to put the skinnier tires on, which is not included on that too. But yeah, the tractor was a great deal. It's just the Versa boom with the bigger tractor and the bigger Versa boom and the mounting brackets they have to do and everything for that, plus the tire change is what's making it more.
In reality, though, we're not gonna find one any cheaper.
Not tractor wise.
Not the big one. We can find a small one, like you said.
Yeah.
But he said, you'll just tear it up. He said the county, but then the street superintendent told me, well, Mike said, well, that's what the county buys. They buy these little tractors and these little Versa booms. But I said, but probably replace them every 2 years, that's what the guy told me.
And that's-
But we don't wanna be doing that.
And that's what, Mike sent me this one from New Holland, and it's a 125 horse tractor. It's a little bit smaller than the John Deere, but, you know, it comes with a 2-year warranty too, and so
It's it's a smaller tractor, but the Versaboom's the littlest one.
the Versaboom it's only the, 6-foot reach, and this other one's the 10-foot, I think it is.
Right.
Where's Mike at on his, is he, I mean, to me, I'm looking at the cost, and it's a smaller one, he said it's 125 horsepower for the new one.
Yep.
But the other one's what, 2015?
Yep, with 1,800 hours on it.
But David,
But I guess all I'm trying to say is, so we're talking, price-wise, we're talking equivalent, 166K versus 165K for a old. So right now, we have one, so I guess my question is they're not apples to apples. So you've got a smaller tractor, so.
It's a smaller tractor, yes, but it's also the tractor, and, I mean, Mike does research on all this stuff.
And where's he land?
He wants the newer one with the warranty because of the John Deere. It has to go to Harrison if anything goes wrong with it, and then you don't have warranty. And the New Holland tractor is actually ones that other towns and the counties around here use. So it's a tried true system that they all went with instead of other ones, the Kubotas and all that stuff that they tried.
Is this cost with you mentioned swapping out tires, they're older tires than the other ones, but are these hill country top tires on this new one?
No. On the new one, yes. It's set up for hills.
Okay.
David, I wanna tell you though, it's not apples to apples.
Well, that's what I said, it's not.
That's the biggest thing.
I'm talking the guy that puts on the Versaboom, the self,
Mhm.
told me that those little tractors, it's a little Versaboom is what you put on it. You don't it's not capable of handling this big one. And when you have people running the Versabooms that are the different people all the time, you want something that's gonna hold up.
But that's why
This tractor is about a $200,000 tractor. And I know, when I called, this is in the shop, I think you got the pictures. This guy's a one-owner tractor. I know the mechanic, it was in their shop, they changed all the oil. He said, this is a heck of a tractor. He called me a day later or something like that and told me they have 5 people wanting this tractor. We gotta know real quick, otherwise I'm gonna sell it for $25,000 more.
Well, and I'm not disagreeing, you're right, it's not apples to apples. My disagreement comes in is, the reason I asked Rich, where does the road superintendent feel he wants to be? Because that's kind of where,
He told me, and I'm gonna tell you a quote, I don't buy used tractors. And I said, you're not paying the bill.
Let's go back to how this all got started. We were presented with a proposal for New Holland with the boom mower for $166,000. This was about 3 weeks ago. At that point in time, we said we needed, first off, to spend that kind of money, we need 3 bids.
Mhm.
And talking to Mike, I said, I agree that you probably, after seeing the piece of equipment on the tour that they're using currently, that thing was a death trap. So there's no question they need a piece of equipment. So I said to him, why can't we buy a used tractor and a new Versaboom and get the price down around $100,000, and I would be satisfied with that, instead of $166,000 for brand new everything. And that's been kind of the mantra at Holiday Island for a long time, is we always buy brand new because it gets a warranty. Having read many, many, many warranties, when you read all the exclusions, the warranties are worth practically nothing. The only thing they are good for is a catastrophic explosion due to a manufacturer defect that they determine whether or not it was a manufacturer defect. So I'm not all that big on warranties of what we pay for. So now we got a used tractor and a Versaboom, and we're higher than we were when we started. It just blows me away. You decide to go with a used tractor and a new Versaboom, and it costs more than a new tractor and a new Versaboom.
Because they were quoting that little bit, the littlest Versaboom possible. That's what the difference is. They were quoted you on that bid, $47,000 Versaboom.
Exactly, that's what I was told. Around 47,000, you come in with this tractor at 68, and I thought, well, it would be around about 120,000. That's a far cry better than 170,000.
This tractor coming in, this four-wheel drive tractor, this used tractor, is it gonna be cost us, I think, 68,000 to deliver to Harrison. That was for that big four-wheel drive, that's the 6020 M, that's a heavy-duty four-wheel drive. That's the heaviest one John Deere makes that's of quality. I mean, it's got the cab, it's got everything.
Okay. One question I had when I started looking online at Versa Booms. Just Google it. There's several,
Yeah.
2 or 3 manufacturers that make these things.
Yeah.
What I kept seeing is all these states, different states that have bought Versa Booms through their state, I don't know what company, what group that is. Maybe the mayor knows this.
It's a state bid list.
And what I saw was a significant difference in the price.
We got on the state bid list and there was no Versa Booms that were, or anybody registered for the state bid pricing. So you get on that list and say Ford dealerships around here. They'll get put on the list and they'll sell their trucks at a state bid price. There was nobody on the state bid list that offered a Versa Boom.
Okay, but I noticed is that states that did have it, they showed the actual price of what the state contract was, and it was about, I'm gonna say 20 grand difference in price.
Yeah. You would easily save $10,000 on a state bid, on that state bid pricing. But like I said, there was nobody on that.
Can we buy a Versa Boom directly from them and deliver it to these guys? Probably not. They probably wouldn't mount it. I think the mounting problem is when you mount this thing. I mean, it's an issue to mount this thing.
Yeah, but that's what I read online, and it's pretty accurate, because it's written by them, the manufacturer. They make adapters for different tractors.
Correct.
And depending on the tractor you have, your adapter for that tractor is anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 for a special setup to adapt to that tractor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the 3 or 4 grand that they charge.
I'm thinking these guys probably, I don't know what, they didn't really give me a price on this, but he gave me a price of $78,000, and I think somebody I can't remember if you told me, Rich, or somebody said now it's 96,000. Is that
That's
correct?
That's what the bid has.
Yeah.
For the big tractor, I mean, for the biggest one. And so that says if this guy told me 78,000 versus 96, that's $18,000 to mount it.
And that was a lot of the difference of the Versa Boom is they went from the smaller one, the
Right.
6-foot one to the 10-foot one.
$47,000 Versa Boom, the littlest possible made to the larger one that we need.
Yep, we went to the larger Versa Boom and then went to more the different mounting brackets to get it
Right.
mounted.
Much heavier. I think that this is the way to go. It's gonna last for many more years. And this tractor is, I've been around tractors since, I started in the feed business in 1972. I've been around tractors in Nebraska. Everybody has 3, 4, 5 tractors. So I know tractors. And believe me, there's a real difference in quality of tractors. And this John Deere tractor, this 6020 M, is a very high quality. It was that year, it was the 6020s. That M is the highest priced tractor they made, John Deere made that year. It's a nice tractor. It's what, 140 some horse?
Yeah, I think it was 115 out the PTO.
Yeah.
I have no problem with the tractor at all. The problem I have is with $100,000 for a Versa Boom to put on a used tractor.
And that's,
And I thought we were going about this the other way around. Instead we were gonna get a used tractor and we were gonna get a Versa Boom for around 45 grand.
Well, that's not correct. They quoted you, the quotes were inefficient. They were quoting you the cheapest, littlest.
Exactly what Mike asked for, which was when we talked Friday on the tour, he was talking about a 12-foot rear cradle. We're quoted a 22-foot rear cradle. Which obviously is nearly twice the price. It's more than twice.
Obviously, though, that's what the manufacturer recommended that we do. That's what the difference is. that was a recommendation by the people that do it.
So we have two here. Did we ever get a third bid or any possible way we got a third or?
We have other bids back there. We've got one, which is all new bids, one from John Deere itself. That one was $199 for the John Deere brand new. And then I think he had three of them. So there's New Holland, Deere, and then I don't think it was, I don't think it was Kubota. There was another one too.
I guess what I'm asking then is, if we're at the 96,000 for a 22-foot rear cradle boom with a 60-inch rotary mower, a 12-foot instead of 96,000, it's 78,000 or 65,000?
I can't answer that. I'm sure there is. I mean, they make all sorts of them.
I think you said they make two or three.
Yeah.
From what I saw, there was probably.
Well, I mean, in between the small one and this big one. But he said, here's what the guy told me. This is at Harrison. He said, Holiday Island, your roads at Holiday Island are so steep, you're going to need that 22-foot to reach some of these trees that are growing along the road that you're doing.
But for 20 years, they've been doing it with a 12-footer.
I don't even think that old one's a 12-footer. I think that old one's only a 10 or an 8.
Well, my point is that they've been using that for several years. All of a sudden, somebody in Harrison says we need to double the size.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that way, in talking with Mike, he also said that some of our neighboring, like Farmington, and some of the ones that had some hills, also use the same type that he, the new one.
That's what he based this New Holland off of, is the information he gathered from Washington County and all the different ones. So that's what he based his size off of.
Okay.
So if you took 68,000 and put that cheap Versa broom on it, it was 47 or 48,000. Because if you look at their bids, 160,000, and the tractor's 120. So you're talking 40,000. So you buy this bigger tractor that can handle it, and you put that smaller Versa broom, you're under that. You're on that 110,000 that we wanted.
Well, that's what I think we're striving for, was to save 50 or 60,000.
But he said that is probably good. He said we'll do it, but he said I think it's too small.
Well, but he's a salesman.
But it's only that's the only.
Well, I don't care. He says it's the big Mike. I'm listening to Mike.
It's only 12 foot.
Wait a minute, Mike does the work, and that's who I have to rely on. I can't rely on a salesman or somebody in Harrison telling me what I need. What I have to rely on is what Mike says we need, and what they've been doing in the past.
That's what I'm.
Well, I talked with Mike extensively for quite a while. He was dead set. I'm not buying a used tractor. That's on you guys. He said, we get warnings. Warnings don't mean nothing.
No.
He said, we get warnings with a new tractor. I said, they don't mean anything, and they don't.
So we're not voting today.
No, we're not.
We're not voting today.
So.
But this is discussion.
Right, that's right, yeah, I'm with you, but that Mike's not here.
Yeah.
That's the reason I was.
Well, he's gonna give you his opinion. He gave me his opinion.
He's the one driving it, and his team's driving it, I'm kind of wanna make.
Well, that's just like these bids we just got. Okay, here's a bid we got, this is a quote, and then you look at these opinions of rental, retail and purchase, for different mowers. You know, leasing this equipment,
We're not leasing anything.
I know.
Yeah.
But we are leasing a lot of equipment. We aren't gonna do it anymore, because the last time we paid for a $60,000 tractor, we paid $178,000 plus 29,000 interest, 13.94% interest. That's a joke. We got this good tractor, but we're gonna have to make a decision Monday on whether we told them to hold it.
And we bought the tractor?
No. We told.
No, he was putting marking it down as sold until we figured out what we were going to do. But I mean, we can't buy the tractor until we have a vote on it because of the price. So no.
So here's my question then. If he's marking it sold and he's giving us such a great deal quote, why? Because at the end of the day, he's turning around saying he can sell it for $20,000, $30,000
I know the
more.
guy.
So this is just as a favor to you that he's. No, I'm legitimately asking because if you think about it, he's
The guy
basically,
lives 6 miles from my house.
okay, that's what I'm asking because you think these people work on
He
commission.
knows me personally.
Okay, so, okay.
Mechanic that is in the shop was my next door neighbor, by the way. And that's the John Deere over on Highway 91 and Highway 15 junction, one of the largest John Deere dealers in Nebraska. He owns about 4 places.
Well, my comment on this is we started at 166,000, now we're up to
Well, let's just
about
go
180,000.
the smaller version. Let's go the smaller version move if that's what we want.
Well, I think we need to get it down in around 100, 110, 115 grand. I think the 170 grand, first of all, it's not a piece of equipment that we use 24/7.
No.
I'd be curious as to how many hours a year this machine is even used.
Quite a bit, really.
Huh?
He uses it 12 months out of the year, and I mean, well, right now it's not getting used at all.
Well, we only have now is
I could probably get you a log sheet of how much he uses that thing, and you'd be really shocked. The best thing is Carroll Electric going through right now has kind of helped us with that, so it's kind of slowed him down a little bit. But they're not. I mean, there's a lot of the side streets and the cul-de-sacs that they're not going down when there's no power, and he still has to keep them trimmed back.
Oh, I think before we can actually vote or appropriate the money, we need to decide exactly what we're gonna buy. If we're gonna, I have no problem with this used John Deere for the price. I mean, it's buying this used one, you're gonna get a lot of perks that you wouldn't get with brand new, including air conditioning and all these other things that we're already on this high dollar for used. We're not gonna get on a brand new one.
And that's it. I'm not arguing the price of the tractor one bit. I mean, the price of the tractor is outstanding, especially for them to eat $1,500 of it in the shipping. I mean, the price of the tractor is amazing. It's just what we got to do to get brought up to what they want, or what that dealership for the Versaboom part of it is what's putting us over. And if we can go with a smaller Versaboom, or if they'll even consider putting a smaller Versaboom on, then we can relook at it.
Well, I
Because you're only
think,
looking at 69,000 for that used tractor.
Yes.
And then if you put a $40,000 or $50,000 Versaboom on it, you're talking 120,000 versus he wants that little tractor and a little Versaboom for 160.
well, we're not gonna do that.
So it's a much better buy.
I guess we need to find a Versaboom that's less than 96,000. I looked at this bid for 96 grand. That's full MSRP.
I was just shocked when he told me that. But he quoted me 78,000 on the phone is what he said, but I guess that wasn't including the brackets or something, and the installation or whatever, but $18,000 sounds like a lot to install a Versa.
Yeah, and the only other thing with that tractor, like I said, it's got the low impact flotation front tires on that we would have to switch out, but I mean, that's $2,000 if even that.
You mean on the John Deere?
Yeah, on the John Deere. Because it came from, it's coming from Nebraska where it was prairie or flat land. So they buy the bigger flotation tires for low impact. So
And it's got new tires on it.
yeah. So them tires, when you get them on the side hills, they roll a lot. So we did want to do the lower profile skiing tires on the front. But that'd be the only thing we'd have to change out on the tractor.
And you need to have the treaded tires, so you can't have smooth tires.
Oh yeah, definitely. You don't want to do turf tires. You want to do low tires.
I would say because you got all this, but that 4-wheel drive is a heck of a tractor. I talked to my friend up there, and he said this tractor is a great tractor, good shape.
I think yeah, down the road, but I think the consensus is that we're getting a good used tractor. We just need to get a Versaboom that's a little more economically priced.
Yep. Keep working on it.
Yeah, I think we can find it. I don't know that we need, this $96,000 one. Yeah, that might be the top of the line, the biggest one to make and all that, but I don't know if that's what we need. I've been doing it for years, but one that's quite a bit smaller and a crummy tractor. You get a good tractor and a smaller one, I don't know that they could do exactly what they need to do anyway.
And it's a good possibility. I agree. You get a good tractor, because that's half the person right there.
Right, they got a tractor that you can run and on it smooth and you can get where you want to go. They can get the reach of that person.
Right.
They've been doing it for years, so they're pro-
He just mentioned that how steep our roads were. A lot of times you have to reach more than 12 feet to get to your, otherwise you drive the tractor on the side.
Well, but Mike's done it multiple times. This guy in Harrison has never done it.
I know,
So I have to go with the guy that's done it many times.
I'm just saying that they get what the guy, I'm just quoting what the guy told me. Okay.
Do we have any public comments? David?
It's Dave, at Oak Point, Drive. Why not lease, why not either rent one, or since we have low on manpower, what about contracting it out for a year to somebody that has all this stuff and see how he does?
Well, both of those are viable options. I don't know that they've been explored, but I don't know about leasing them. I don't know if.
No, not lease, rent,
Well, lease rent is better.
but you give it back on a rental and they fix whatever's broke. If it breaks.
No, that's not correct. You break it, you fix it.
But you can buy the insurance on it, so spend a couple $100, breaks, you're covered.
You know somebody will lease or rent these.
Not really.
That's a pretty unique piece of equipment with a high liability of personal injury.
That power, Pure Electric really did some good work out there, man. I didn't even see them, and every time I go down a new street, it's all done and cleaned up and chipped. That gives me about a year to figure out what you want to do. If you could find somebody that does that.
I go back to that maintenance log you were talking about. If Mike is using that on a regular basis, like 12 months out of the year, then renting it may not.
We need it when we need it. We don't need to have to wait for somebody to come and do it.
But again, I think the maintenance log would be, if it's being used for maybe other, not necessarily just, what we think we're using it for, I'd defer to Mike to see that was.
How about a contractor that'll do it for a price? With his own stuff, his own equipment, what would that cost?
We can look and see if there's anybody that even does it. I mean, what I've seen, and I saw one yesterday coming back from Rogers on the side of the road, some little municipality, and their version of it looked about as good as ours.
That equipment don't last very long with the small ones. That's what the guy told me.
Anyway, that was just a thought on, trying to figure out where we're at until then, Like, how bad do we need it right now? Do we have to have it tomorrow and for the next 2 months, or is it when we get a chance, we can go and do some cutting?
I know they use it every week, I'm sure. Right now, we don't, the thing we got is a death trap. I mean, it's junk.
I saw that.
Yeah, so you saw it as well as I did.
I'd get it.
I wouldn't get in that trap.
I would.
I would get in that trap.
Anyway,
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Yeah?
On Cypress Point Lane, I had a couple of questions. One is on the company that would do the blacktopping, and I think that's what you're doing with the city and the HICID. Jimmy Jones is no longer in business. He passed away. Are there companies, the last time the city did a big project was like $600,000. It was from Little Rock. If we have 3 projects, the ones that you mentioned today, do we have a firm that would bid on those, and are they able to come in? The reason I'm asking this question is when I was on the board, about 3 years we did nothing, zero. And I know you're working, and I appreciate it. But are there companies that would come in for a smaller amount and get this job done?
Yeah, I think first off, the stuff that
he's talking about, Mike's already had in the works for some time, which is chip and seal, as opposed to the major project was a total asphalt job.
Okay.
And I think Mike has, the guy, kind of already gave us bids on some of this. We had it, I think, we've gotten a price from him, and I think he's available. So, yeah, I think we're covered. If we can come to some sort of agreement here rather soon, I think we can still get some chip and seal done this year.
Okay. The other thing too about paving is, the residents that lived on paved roads or chip and seal roads, biggest complaint was it wasn't leveled. And I'm told that the company that comes in and does either chip and seal or blacktop, not level it, our crews have to level it. And, when you think about Pleasant Ridge right up here, oh, not good, not good at all. And I would advise, the new members of the, BOC to drive the roads as much as you can, before they're paved, and they're like this, but they're supposed to be leveled, and then you put a surface on. Residents are really happy with your work after that's done. The second question I have is on the lawsuits. We have one that was filed by these people 14 months ago. We had a second one filed by them about 8 months ago. And we have a third one filed by a woman about 2 months ago. Are there any, I saw the judge coming out of Walmart the other day, and I was going to ask him, Your Honor, is there any way that we can get these or resolved or adjudicated? And I didn't. Anything, Rich, that Matt can do to get us an answer to this, because it seemed like we delayed, not we, but the more that's delayed, the more problems we have with it. Is there anything we can do to get a settlement on these things?
It's all in the judge's hands right now. I mean, there's nothing we can beg and plead with him, or Matt can, but I mean, it's all in the judge's hands. There's nothing we can do with it. And as far as the other settlements, I mean, Matt's already dug into them, and he's sending in his paperwork on it, so that way we can see where we go from there. But I mean, like always, at the end of the day, it's all dependent on the judge.
Okay. Thank you.
Ken, I'd like to stay right there for a second. I don't know what they call chip and seal here, but in Nebraska, you call it black. It's blacktopping. It's not laying down 3 inches or 6 inches of asphalt. And when they spray oil on the road, they usually spray a ½ inch. Or they sometimes, depending on how much you pay for it, they can do less. But then you go back and gravel it. And we furnish the gravel. Gravel was $6 a yard. And I'm sure it's much higher here. Because, the gravel, we haul our own gravel, and it was only 12 miles away. But in regards, you talk about leveling. Here's what and none of these companies will level the road. What we did was we took the city maintainers, and we went and cut the road, just shaved off the top side of the road when it was 100 degrees. So that you could get that cut off nice and even, and then you could go back and have a blacktop. And we just did this almost a few days prior to this whole thing. We didn't want anybody, or a lot of rain pouring on the road after you cut it, because some of this wavy stuff like this, you might be cutting this much off at one place and this much off at another, but if you got it level, that's what counts. Then you don't have all these cracks forming down in the low spots where the water sets, and then in Nebraska, it freezes the road erodes. Here, it's not that bad, but I would think that we could take the maintainers and cut those roads, and cut those and smooth them out.
Good. Thank you.
What do you think, Rich?
Well, on that note, and 3 years ago, it was somebody else running the road department, and they did the chip and seal, and then they took upon themselves to run the broom over the gravel before it was packed into the oil. So that did not help the situation. So if you ride down some of the roads, it looks like you just went out and sprayed brine on the road in July. That's because that broom made them grooves. And then that other road that you're talking about where it was when you're running that broom, and you got a little dip, that's gonna make it worse. It's like washboards on a gravel road. So, I mean, once we get the chip and seal done, we're not gonna go through and sweep the gravel off. We're gonna get good and
That
packed.
wear off.
That wear off, that get packed in. And then in the fall time, before snow comes, then you can come back and you can broom it and use it for part of your winter mix.
When they chip and seal here, do they pack it with a roller?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wondered if that's what they did.
And on the side note of that too, the oil they used before was not compatible with the cold patch. So a lot of the cold patch spots that you see around here are popped because that oil would not adhere to it.
Yeah, it's not compatible.
Yeah. So now we got to use a different oil, and that of course causes more cost. But that different oil will actually absorb into the cold patch and help keep it more impact, so that way it gets rid of that.
Are we using an elastic stuff? There's different grades of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we always bought an elastic stuff that would, because of weather, and it would always it would move.
Here we don't have to worry about the heaving of the ground as much, like other places, but we still have to get the right formula of oil, which they know, to that way it can adhere to everything we have.
Right. It'll appease the asphalt that you've got already patching that you've got now. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to add a couple of things to it. One thing we need to do is remove 17.3 from the regulations. We need to discuss that. We need to discuss the section 110-8 in the personal handbook of conflicts. That's pretty much it.
Second.
I'll second that.
Then move in second, and we'll talk about the regulations. Section 17 in our regulations. The whole section 17 refers to Heisen's planning commission that doesn't exist. Direct conflict with the city. So I think at our next regular meeting, we need to abolish that. We'll take that whole reg out of that whole chapter 17. There's nothing in it but discussion and stuff about the planning commission that doesn't exist any longer. So there's no reason for it to be in there.
It's just a conflict.
Again, it's conflicting with our city.
Exactly. That's what it is. Yep.
So that's something that we need to do, and I'll make that motion.
We don't need to make a motion or anything.
I'm sorry?
We're not making motions or anything. We're just discussion. Yeah, you were making a
No, I
motion.
said I'll make the motion at the regular meeting.
Oh, okay.
That we remove it.
Well, I'll put it on the agenda.
Okay, because right now, it's in conflict with what the city's doing.
Yep. So what I'll do is we'll make the regulation striking all of 17-3, and then
Well, it's just 17. 17.3 is just one item.
item. Yeah,
The whole
17.
section of section 17.
Oh yeah.
I think, for the regular meeting, the board needs to look over,
Randy,
yes,
before you move on from that, Lynn Dumas did a search of
Can you go to the
ISID
please?
regulations and found,
Mike, they want you to put on Mike.
Mike's not here.
Don't trip over that chair, Dan.
Lynn Dumas from the City Planning Commission did a search of the ISID regulations and found, I'm gonna say about a half a dozen,
9,
9.
yes.
Are they all in that section 17?
Yes.
Okay.
When you do that, they all highlight up in yellow.
Right. I just wanna make sure we got them all, so.
Yeah, I'll do it again, but I'm pretty certain that all of it is in section 17.
Okay, thank you.
Al, do you have comments? No.
There's another part I wanted to talk about, I can't locate it right now, but it deals with compensation. Yeah, section 108, which is gratuities. And I'll read you what our regulation says. All employees and officers compensated from any fund of HICID, whether by wage, salary, or contractual agreement on monthly remuneration, are prohibited from acceptance of any gratuity, regardless of form or nature, from any source other than HICID. Okay? What we need to do is rework this, and there are some areas where it calls out exemptions to this, which are small tokens of appreciation and things of value of less than $25 and stuff like that. But bottom line is, we're gonna have waitresses at the clubhouse that are gonna rely on tips. So I just wanna put it in, I'll make a motion at the regular meeting to just add a disclaimer that everything is the way it's written, with the exception of servers at the clubhouse. That way they can accept tips legally. Right now, we've been collecting tips up there at the clubhouse in a jar, which it clearly says we can't do, but we're gonna reword that so that we can legally do it. That's just one of the things that I wanted to bring up today during a work session, that we need to amend our regulation to make it accommodating for waitresses and bartenders.
Tips are based off their income, so any tips they get, they have to write down and claim, so it's not gratuity. So if you walked in there and you gave her a $100 t-shirt, that's a gratuity, and she can't do that. As far as tips, it's all based off income, so it's not gratuity.
But I'm just reading what our code says, our regulation says, and it's pretty clear to me.
Yep, but tips are based off it, or tips are income.
I understand that. Tips are income and our wages.
Yep, but
And
tips
they
are,
dealt with differently with the IRS code, which I've read.
but tips are not considered, as long as you claim your tips, which they have to, every time you swipe a card, you add a tip to it, it's put on her income. Cash tips, she's supposed to write down her cash tips at the end of the day. It's all based on income. A gratuity is a gift. If you walked in there and bought her, like I said, a $100 shirt and gave it to her, that's considered a gratuity. But as far as tips, you could tip as much as you want, and she has to report it.
I agree with that, Rich. What I'm just clearly stating is what our regulation says, and what I'm going to do to change it so that our people are operating legally. Because right now, what I've read is they cannot accept tips. I suggest the rest of the board read it.
Yeah, I read it too. That's my interpretation of it.
Well, that's fine. We can, all we gotta do, we just gotta figure out how to add one line in there. It says tips.
Trust me, I can.
Yeah.
There's an exclusion there for exemptions.
Yeah, I
And I can add number 7, or was it 6?
or
Seven.
no, like, this is something Dan and I are,
I'm Rich.
Rich and I, we're going back and forth, and, I agree that gratuity and income is reportable, but to make it clear, I was saying something like for adding a number 8 to an exemption if we wanted.
Yeah.
In the form, or let's say, I had 8, so basically we would say, in the form of tip provided to a waitress and or a bartender while in performance of their duties within a HICID managed establishment, or something similar to that, as an added language. Because we also talk about bartenders, we talk about waitresses, but bartenders also another person.
And the language should also be ambiguous. They contend bar at the bar.
That's why I said a HICID managed establishment.
Yeah, originally used the clubhouse, but it's gotta be.
Exactly.
So this would be something to tentatively to look at if we want to.
Now, what happens, if this bill goes through in Congress right now, that they're gonna exclude tips as income, okay? Now, that's gonna, if that's signed into an executive order, and we aren't gonna have that being added to their income, then what happens?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but they weren't gonna exclude tips from income, they were just not gonna tax tips.
Correct.
Well, isn't that what it means?
You still gotta use your tips as income, you're just not gonna get taxed on tips.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens, but is that gonna affect this regulation?
No.
Okay, okay, so then why don't we just, make the regulation and say, and change it slightly, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we're just gonna add a line in there. Citizens and bartenders can accept tips.
And that's just our handbook, it's not a regulation, it's just our handbook.
Now, this is in the red.
Oh,
The one I'm referring
Oh,
is
okay.
section 14.3, acceptance of gratuities by district employees.
it's what now? Which one?
14-3.
14-3. And so what I'm saying is there is, to the chairman's point, there's a list of exemptions and 7 of them. And I'm just saying, I was recommending number 8 be what I kind of read. So something like that.
Yes.
And Rich has that email, he can share it with the rest of
All the exemptions.
Yeah.
If we just add an
But that's the point I was getting at, it's clearly called out.
Yeah, we had that conversation back and forth, and I agree that it is income, so maybe that was covered, but it's not clear. Because it talks about gratuities, I agree, we can make it clearer, that doesn't hurt us.
Exactly.
Randy, not to change the subject, but are we gonna be talking about the personnel in your motion, the personal handbook, for the personnel? Were we gonna talk anything about that?
Well, I think going forward, each of these work sessions that we're doing once a month, each work session, we should include revising or changing outdated regulations within our own personnel handbook and our own regulations. And there's numerous, and I suggest to the board, we start with chapter 5, amenities. There are so many things in there that are outdated that need to be deleted. When you read it, you'll understand that it talks about the driving range, and it goes on and on and on, about all these things that don't even exist, but they're still not regulations. That, as a board, monthly, when we have work sessions, we ought to be reviewing these old, outdated regulations.
Well, like the regulation on personnel, on days off, that sort of stuff?
Sure, all of it.
I mean, I thought we were gonna talk about that today.
I don't think we have enough information yet to even discuss it.
Okay, all right, I'll take that.
Any commissioner comments? Rich, you want to update us on the clubhouse?
Still working, got all the stuff ordered. All the flooring's down to the backside of the bar, and the office is left on it, which I'm thinking we're gonna start getting equipment at the end of this week, if not first next. So I gotta get that flooring down so we can start getting the plumbing and everything else done, so get the plumbers in there and get all the fixtures hooked up. Yeah.
So, as I understand it, the upcoming golf breakfasts are going to be prepared in the ballroom.
Yes. Yep. And the men's league, Leslie was gonna cater them in, and then the rest is gonna be all on, I believe on, well, I think one of them was gonna do some kind of a potluck. And
I
then
think that was him,
Hilga, yeah.
was going to go potluck.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was all 3 leagues breakfasts to start the season off.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments?
Yes, I do. I have a couple. One of them, I was informed that we don't have a punch card for out-of-town people at the golf course. And I know that my wife told me they have lost, well, I think an out-of-town person can't buy a 10-hole punch card, correct? You have to, I think you have to be a resident. Well, the women have already lost 4 or 5 people that's not gonna join, because they can't buy that punch card. So now we're out $450 for each one of those people. And if they play league and it's 18 weeks, they're gonna have to buy at least 2 punch cards, so that's $900 that we're out. And if they rent a card and that sort of stuff, and pay and buy a membership, it's $2,000. So now if they just quit, we're out of that. So we made a regulation that bit off the hand we're trying to feed them with. And I know some golfers, some men golfers, that are not gonna do, because they don't have a punch card this year. They said they're not gonna join. They're not joining the league anymore. Because we don't have, so I had one guy, I told him, I said, look, the way to solve that is go have somebody that, your best friend, go buy a punch card, give it to you. Nothing they can say, because if I buy a punch card and Randy and I say, Randy, you wanna play golf today? You say, yep, use my punch card. That's what it's for. So that's what's gonna end up happening, because I know that's already happened. I had a guy ask me just yesterday.
What changed this year that was different from last year?
Well, because out of town people could buy a punch card.
Last year?
Plus they bought them.
I didn't really think we changed anything.
Well, I thought, yeah.
The only punch cards we have for
I
that
know.
hole at 18 hole.
Before they were allowed people to buy punch cards.
Well, let me put it this way, then. If that's the case, I would suggest that you make a motion during a regular meeting that we amend it and correct it.
Well, I think we should.
Well,
And I will make that.
I don't wanna see golfers going away, and we didn't change the policy, so I don't know what's changed.
Well, I think it was the management before that did that, okay? And just like, if I call in and I go on Golf Now and I can play for $25. And it's $45 if I buy a punch card. Wouldn't that be a lot smarter? And Golf Now, you get the first 5 people that go on Golf Now, our golf course don't get a dime out of it. Not one dime. After 5 people do it in one day, they do get it.
And then, this is what bugs me about this, because you say that Golf Now sells this and we don't get a dime. We have a POS system, we have advertising, we have people using our course that are gonna come back and use the course again because they're happy with it. When you say it don't cost a dime, or make us a dime, it makes us a lot more than you think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I agree, but we need to have some kind of, Golf Now is fine, I mean, but we have people that do that. Just like a guy told me yesterday, I'm gonna give you the figure, I read it last night.
Okay.
Okay, he golfs every league day, okay? Now, he's not gonna golf this year because he said, he said, I was doing it for $450 for a punch card last year. He doesn't live here, he lives up in Golden. And they said, they said, no, you can't buy a punch card. So he asked me, he said, okay, well, last year what he bought was 3 punch cards. He had 3 punch cards at roughly, $1,400, $1,300 some dollars, $1,350. $1,350, and then he just uses Golf Now at $25 about 3 times a week to golf with Billy's group. And he said it would make much more sense if you guys would let out of town people buy a membership close to what if you own a property here. Because some guys just buy an empty lot and then just buy it and give golf membership.
So here in section 5-32, it says specifically, golf access individual cards allow only the individual listed on the card full access to designated Holiday Island golf courses for a yearly charge as identified. But it doesn't specify that it has to be a property owner. Nowhere does it specify a property owner is the only.
They told this guy at the clubhouse he couldn't buy one because he asked me to buy one for him. He said, "Could you buy a punch card for me?" And I said, "Oh yeah." I said,
Okay, but again, I mean, I get what you're saying, and that's something that needs to be addressed. But it specifically states that the individual listed on the card is the only one to have access. So if you have other property owners purchasing punch cards for non-property owners, then that's a whole different issue.
No, if I buy a punch card and he's coming golfing with me and I say, that's where you buy a punch card. so you can take somebody.
Right, but you're saying you said buy a punch card for me, for his personal.
He asked if I could buy a punch card, and then when he's there, if he could use the punch
But
card
it says,
as my guest.
I understand, but that's not what you said.
Well, that's what I meant, so.
But that's not what you said. Okay, but it says specifically here, it does not require it to be a property owner. So that's something that we just need to address with the staff.
That means that he
and
can
make
buy
sure
a
that
card for $450.
There's nowhere in the regulation does it say that it has to be a property owner.
He told me that they told him he
Well, I'm
couldn't do it.
going off of what the regulation
Okay,
says, so
well,
that might just be something that we need to clear up with the staff.
And I think it's,
That's on number five, ain't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you would hope that we don't lose very many golfers like that. I know we lost a couple already, but we don't have many people get them.
Well, it sounds like it might be a mood issue, just needs to clarify with the staff.
Well, I had another conversation with someone at church about the bank at the clubhouse. They put $100 in their account at the clubhouse. They're told they can't use it to pay for their golf. And I'm saying, what? And they said, yeah, I put $100 in my bank. Next time I go there, they say, no, you can't pay for your golf with that, you can only buy food and shirts and hats. And I said, well, I understood that about the winnings, the tournaments, we were trying to do it so that there wasn't cash paid out for tournaments, instead it was traded at the clubhouse, either food or shirts or whatever it is, but if someone places $100 on account so that the day they play golf, they don't have to drag out a credit card and everything else, they can just have it deducted from their bank. I thought that was kind of the way the system worked.
The way it used to be.
That's the way I thought it was too, Dan, but yesterday someone at church said, no, they don't allow that no more.
I know, I've had the same.
And I said, well, I'll look into it, maybe Mark has a misinterpretation of
Yeah, maybe.
what the money in your bank is for.
Money is in the bank to spend at the golf course, whatever you need to spend it on.
Well,
That's what it's always been.
well,
Well, I guess there was something that somebody made or did a year or two ago that says you can't use it to pay for golf.
does the POS system break it out between winnings and your, I put money on? Because because if you have a balance and it goes back to that being able to pay for winnings
But
versus.
here's the reality of that, is if I put $100 on my account, and I put $100 in my account, about $6 a week for golf. So that nil and a point of that. That's paying for golf, isn't it, Alvin?
Sure.
Well, what the heck are we talking about then?
Him get takes
It was-
on that.
Yeah, every week, $6.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm sorry, but 9 times out of 10 when we get these complaints or anything, it's usually just a misunderstanding or something just didn't go right. I think we found this out during the booking of a birthday party and singers.
Oh, yeah, it's part of it.
I mean, 9 times out of 10 when we get a complaint, it's just something that we don't look
I
into.
think you need to have the conversation with Mark about bank money. Because I know that last year I won $100 on that tournament, the fire department, somebody. And I was told later that, and I understood, I could use that money for golf. It was gonna be used for food, shirts, hats, whatever at the clubhouse. But it would not be allowed to be used to pay for my weekly golf.
Yeah, once it goes in the Quicken Books as a property owner, you can use it as however you want. I mean, like I said, more than likely, this is probably just some kind of misunderstanding that got turned around.
And, you know, I'm glad we can get it worked out before things start, and maybe that'll make an announcement at the breakfast.
Because at the clubhouse, if, on Tuesday night or Tuesday after morning, we come to leave, if your account is less than $6, they'll tell you to bring some money in, because you're supposed to have paid prior. They'll look you up or call you and tell you, hey, you need to bring in $6 for this.
Okay. Well, I think it might be a good idea to announce it during Old Tuesday. The money you have in your bank, you can use it to pay for your golf.
Exactly.
That's your money.
It's your money, that's right. I just know a guy that had $200 from last year. First off, they were not gonna let you use it, they were gonna keep it and just throw it away, and you were gone. And that's what they told everybody last year. they're not gonna carry it over.
Commissioner, can we take a break?
I'm about to.
I think we're about ready to adjourn.
We're about to club.
Last issue there,
Is that an issue?
where it's something you want to discuss on the agenda.
Then we'll take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, I think you left, so.
We're on recess for 5 minutes.
All right.